morning, TikTok family. Thank you guys for tuning into this video. On this morning, I'm going to be talking about the narcissist, and I'm going to be talking about how the narcissist wants to destroy your life. Believe it or not, the Bible tells us to put on the whole armor of God so that we can withstand the wiles of the devil. And when I was young, I never knew really what that meant by that, but now I see what they mean by that. You got to guard yourself. You have to guard yourself because the devil is out to kill, to steal, and to destroy. And he doesn't care who he used to do it, okay? But be careful when you are in toxic relationships and situationships at school, work, home, it doesn't matter. Narcissists are everywhere you go. They're there, okay? But when God blesses you to disassociate yourself from a narcissist, I know it may hurt sometime, but you have to move along. You have to go and do and be what God wants you to be, not what they want you to be, okay? So my thing is, I wanted to share this scenario with you guys. I went to a gas station, which is not far from the house, to get gas one morning. And upon going into the gas station, now I normally go to this gas station all the time and get gas or whatever. And so there's a clerk that's in there, guy, he'll speak and I speak. I just keep going. I don't stop and talk. I just, how you doing? Good morning, like that. This particular morning, I went to get gas about 2 weeks ago. I went to get gas, and as I was leaving out, he said, "Are you about to go to work?" I said, "Oh no." I said, "I don't work like that, with companies." I said, "I'm into real estate." He said, his whole demeanor of his face changed. He said, "Oh, you into real estate? Oh, I want to buy a house." I said, "You want to buy a house?" He said, "Yes." Like that. So I said, he said, "You have a business card?" I said, "No, I don't have a card on me right now." I said, "Because I didn't have any of my purse or anything. I just had my keys. And I just had my keys for, to get fuel and money, my car to get money. To get gas." So I said, "Next time," like that. So there was another guy clerk there. And I think this man was offended because I rejected him in front of another guy. So after that incident, this guy never spoke to me again. And I was like, wow. I walked in the gas station a couple of days later. He acted like he was so busy. Like he couldn't turn around and speak like he normally would speak, But the other people, "How you doing? How you doing?" I said, "I'm fine." And I said, "Fine, if that's the way he feels, then so be it, But I know that men do not like rejection. They do not like the word no. So I said to myself, now this is the type of people you have to watch. Because when a person show you that this is who they are, believe me, that's who they are, okay? Now, when I mention real estate, that's money. Okay, so all of a sudden now he wants to get, change the whole thing from customer to something else different, okay? But I rejected that. And so he don't like the word no. But anyway, be careful who you entertain in your circle, because people are people and you can't change anybody but yourself. I grew up in a narcissistic family, and I couldn't change my family, but I could change me by walking out of the family and leaving the family where the family belonged behind me is what I did. But in another scenario, when I was in acting school, okay, we had to act out certain situations that we were in. Like I was going through a toxic thing. I think my middle son was about 3 years old when this happened, but he was a lot older then. But this is when I met the narcissist. But anyway, I used that particular scene in the play to act it out, because that's what I was struggling with at the time, with this narcissist going back and forth with this person and coming and going and coming and going. So they asked me to recite the monologue by Loretta Devine for color women, for color girls. So I did. And I had to get into character, just like she was in character for color girl. I had to get into that character. So the guy that played the guy that was going back and forth, and I was standing there talking to him, literally I got into that character. And they brought producers in, they brought directors in. Everybody in the class had to pick scenario, whatever were going through or whatever, they had to utilize that in their monologues to act out, to see, how they would see how you act. So when I got into my scene with this guy, I mean, I went through it. I shut my eyes and I thought about that thing, and I meditated for about a few seconds, came into it. I got so into that character, when it was time for me to end that character, I gave him the guy a shove, because that is what I felt at that moment. And they tell you get into the moment because it's acting. It's acting. I got into the moment. And so they looked at me and they told me, they said, you got into that character. You just went all the way with yours. So I thank God that I went to acting school, because I know how to handle certain situations and things like that using my skills, But anyway, don't allow narcissists to push you to that point where you have to actually get physical with them. Acting is one thing, but narcissists will push you to that point where they will cause you to physically hurt them, and then you'll lose your freedom because you have, and they will call the police on you and have you locked up. And so you don't want to lose your freedom over stupidity, people like that. So my thing is that I do not engage in no type of toxicity whatsoever, okay? I walked away from family, and if I walked away from family who were toxic, I could walk away from anybody who's toxic. It doesn't matter. I don't care if you're at work, church, school, home, wherever the case may be. If you're toxic, you got chaos and confusion going on in your life, I would turn my back on you so fast. And that's what I like about me. I can love you and I can leave you at the same time. So anyway, if you have been through a narcissistic addictionship, relationship, or whatever it was, and God delivered you from that thing, stay free. Do not even think about looking back, especially going back. Don't even look back, because God will turn you into a pillar of salt. When you turn around to go look back at that thing, he will turn you into a pillar of salt, and he will allow that demon to destroy your life. Stay free from these people, because they have no soul. They have no life. They have nothing inside of them. They are empty, totally empty. They are empty vessels. They are demon spirits dressed up in facade, mask, put on nice suits, smelling good, looking good, but they're evil spirits. They're evil people. I know, because I grew up in the house with them. And I know how they did. They went to church every Sunday, jumping and shouting. Got out of church, went home, started fighting and fussing. That's crazy. I couldn't see that. It wasn't matching up to me. You supposed to be a church person, but you come home fighting. I could not make no sense of that for save my life. But anyway, I had to separate myself from these people, because anytime you drain my spirit, it's time for me to move along, because I love who I am. I might not be what you want me to be, but I love who I am. You're not going to change me into what you want me to be for your benefit. That's not going to happen. So I stayed free. I got out of that toxic stuff, and I left it alone, and I walked away. I refused to date anymore. I wouldn't date anymore. But thank God, January of 2026, I got married in January 2026 of this year. Also, walking away from that, do you know how liberated I felt? I refused to allow a man to touch me. I wouldn't even date. Nothing. It was just point blank nothing. It was like cold turkey, isolation, period, until I was able to get my complete healing that I knew that when I was ready, to live up to the expectations that God had for me. Okay. So anyway, thank you guys for watching this video. I wanted to put that out. If you're free, stay free. Walk in freedom. Walk in your freedom. Use your voice to raise awareness about your situation. There's somebody going through it that needs to hear your story. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you guys in another video. Bye.